What's been the reaction since you called for the Prime Minister to go?
Well, look, I didn't expect when I said what I said yesterday to be followed by anybody else, frankly. I reached my decision based on what happened last week, which is the Prime Minister was found by the Metropolitan Police to have broken his own COVID rules. I think because of that, some of the things he said in the House of Commons, I think, don't look very credible anymore. I think it's difficult to avoid the conclusion that he's misled Parliament. And I also take exception to the fact that Conservative colleagues are being asked effectively to defend the indefensible. So that's why I reached my conclusion. Different colleagues will have different tests for this. Some will want to wait until the police have concluded their investigations into all of the gatherings that the Prime Minister attended. Some will want to wait for that and for Sue Gray's full report to be published, and that's absolutely fine. Different colleagues will, want to wait for different things. So I did what I felt to be the right thing, and I think every colleague's going to have to make a decision about whether they want the Prime Minister to lead us into the next election, and they're going to have to look at the facts that come out over the next days and weeks, and all of them are going to reach that conclusion one way or the other. And if they don't do anything, they will have made a decision they do want him to lead us into the next election, and if they don't, they're going to have to take action to do something about it.
I wonder if your colleagues afterwards taken you one side and said, I completely agree with you, I just don't have the bottle at this stage to do the same thing, or have others said you're completely out of order?
I haven't had anybody tell me I'm completely out of order. A number of colleagues have said that they're thinking very seriously about putting a letter in. Small number, not a huge number, but different colleagues are going to reach different conclusions. And I have had somebody tell me that they thought the tone that I struck was the right one. I'm not at all thrilled to have got to this place. I say in my letter that I wrote to Sir Graham Brady, I voted for Boris Johnson because I wanted him to get Brexit done and defeat Jeremy Corbyn. I wanted him to be successful. Yes, I've had my differences with him over a number of COVID rules. People will be very clear about that. But it's partly because of that I know how important this issue is. I know what sacrifices people made. I know the Prime Minister and other ministers said how important these rules were, why people had to follow them. And if that's what you're doing as a government, you, as the leader of the government, have to be the role model for following the rules and understanding them and doing the right thing. And he clearly hasn't been. And that's one of the things I think, and he accepts this himself, that he's let people down.
And have you heard from the Prime Minister himself or the Chief Whip since then?
No, I mean, obviously the Prime Minister responded to the points I made in the House of Commons, and he said that I, had clearly thought very carefully about what I'd done and what I'd said, which I had indeed. But I've not heard from them, either of them, since. I wouldn't have expected to. And I've said what I've said, and my colleagues are going to have to reach their own conclusions in due course about what they think.
How bad do you think things could get for the Conservative Party if Boris Johnson does remain as leader?
Well, look, one of the things that I've been very clear in this, I've been a member of the Conservative Party since I was 17, which is sadly a very long time ago now. And I'm anticipating being a member of the Conservative Party until the day I die, which hopefully will also be a very long time away. I want the Conservative Party to be successful. I said in my letter to Sir Graham that I think the Conservative Party has a huge amount to offer the country. I want us to win the next election. I don't think we can do that if the Prime Minister remains in place. And all of my colleagues are going to have to think through that decision. I think given all the challenges we've got in front of us, the international ones and the domestic ones, I think it's imperative that you have somebody who role models our values and can be trusted, be straight with people, and can make the right decisions through what's going to be incredibly difficult. Big international challenges, but big domestic ones with the cost of living and some really important decisions to take. And I think we need fresh leadership to get those decisions right.
And who is that person? Is it Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, Dominic Raab, maybe even Mark Harper? You ran for the leadership last time round. Is it you've got in mind?
No, it's not me I've got in mind. That's not what this is about. This is about whether the Prime Minister should continue. Look, if my colleagues determine that he should go and there's a vacancy for leader of the party, we've got a whole range of talented people in the Conservative Party, some presently in the government, some not. Those colleagues that wish to put their names forward will do so, and we'll have a contest where we can test them. And then when that contest is over, the Prime Minister will step down from being Prime Minister and they will take over. And that will happen in a perfectly seamless and orderly way. And that's how the process will work. I don't know, where that's going to get to. I don't know where that's going to go. But I think the question in front of us today is whether we want the Prime Minister to stay in place. I've made my decision, and it's now for my colleagues to come to their decision as well.
Just for clarity, Mark, would you throw your hat in the ring in the event of the leadership contest?
No, I won't be standing. I've made that decision, so this isn't about me. This is about the decision I've made about the Prime Minister. It'll be for others to make, if we get to that point and there's a contest, it'll be for others to decide whether they want to stand, and then I'll have to look at who the candidates are and decide who I support.
Mark Harper, Conservative MP, thanks so much for joining us.